Once again, welcome to our Business Tips and Tricks with LinkedIn series. Today's class is content creation, and it will be hosted by myself, Jamie, and my colleague Megan with the Plano Public Library. Before we begin, I do need to let you know about some ground rules that we've set up for today's program. You will be muted during this class, and we have your video blocked. You will only see the instructor's screen. So right now you should see a screen that just says Plano Public Library and welcome to our virtual program. At the top of your screen, you can find an exit full screen option if you need to get to other things on your computer, including LinkedIn. You are welcome to ask questions or request that I repeat information at any time during today's program. You should see an icon at the bottom of your screen that says chat. You can click on that to open the chat window. That chat is set to be seen by library staff only. If you prefer, you may also use the Q&A feature located at the bottom of your screen to ask questions. Please note that any inappropriate questions or comments will cause your immediate removal from today's class. For any questions that we do receive today, we may answer you directly in that chat or Q&A box, hold the question until a break or the end of the class, or ask the question at the time if it is pressing. On our website, you can also find a link for a handout to accompany today's class, and we've also shared that link in the chat for you as well. A recording of the class will be available in a few days, so if you'd like to watch today and then practice with that recording later, it is an option for you. And finally, if you would like to follow along with your own LinkedIn account during today's class, you may, but please do keep in mind that it will be difficult for us to give one-on-one assistance or troubleshoot during today's program. I will try to take it slow just in case you're practicing alongside us. Now, as we get started this afternoon, I do need to remind you that I'm a librarian, not a business expert. The information I'm sharing with you today is designed to be an overview and to help connect you with additional resources that may be helpful in building and promoting your business and services. This program series does have several parts, and while each class stands on its own, some content will build on concepts or ideas from the previous weeks. So far, we've covered building your profile and service page, creating company and showcase pages, and also networking groups and jobs postings. Today's class will focus on content creation for business, and the final class in this series next week will focus on developing your strategy with available resources. We have four main objectives for today's class. First, we're going to share some overall guidelines for creating and sharing content, and we'll talk about general tips to keep in mind as you interact with others and share your own ideas. Next, we'll review avenues for sharing content and look at options as an individual, as part of a group, or on behalf of your company. We will also explore available content creation templates and some sample content and look at key options available on LinkedIn with some examples to help get you started. And finally, we'll outline some strategies for a content creation calendar and talk about things to include in your calendar and steps to get that process started. Well, let's go ahead and start today by talking about some of the overall guidelines for creating and sharing content on LinkedIn. Content creation begins by first establishing your personal brand, presence, and expertise on LinkedIn. Once you've established yourself and have a robust profile and history, you can begin adding your own original content pieces. And here are some general best practices to help get you started. First, read, share, and react to relevant content from others. Before you post anything on your own, take some time to review and engage with what is already available on LinkedIn. So as you're scrolling through your newsfeed, take some time to read the updates, the articles, and other information shared by your network. You can react with different emotions to the posts, or post a brief comment, or start or continue the discussion. If you happen to see something that is particularly interesting or relevant to your network, then take a moment to share that content with your own newsfeed. These small steps, while very simple, will help build your brand and presence. Also, engage with industry leaders. Ideally, you have identified and followed notable industry leaders or influencers in your field. This means that you should see their content appear regularly in your newsfeed. You can also follow hashtags related to the type of content you'd like to see in your feed. Consider adding comments to these posts or starting or joining in those conversations. Be thoughtful and intentional about what you share, and you can start building your recognition in the field. Remember, this is another element of building your brand. Post updates from both your personal and company pages. Whether you're posting from your page or on behalf of your company, be intentional and authentic. It's important to match that content to your voice, your brand, and your overall objectives on the LinkedIn platform. If you have particular skills or expertise, start by leveraging these. Think about what can you share with other users. Posting from both outlets increases your visibility, both as a leader in the field and as a reputable business. And finally, use appropriate tools to increase your reach. When you post, make use of additional tools that can increase the visibility of your posts. The @ function can be used to mention particular users or even another business. If you're collaborating with someone on a project, you can mention them in your post. Or if something is of particular interest to someone in your network, you can mention them directly in your comment. Hashtags will also increase the visibility of your content because they help bring related content together and make it easier for users to find relevant topics. Experts recommend using no more than 3 hashtags per post, so do consider a range of both those broad and niche hashtags to best represent your brand and ideas, and those may change from post to post depending on your specific objectives. Whether you're posting on behalf of yourself or your business, there are some general best practices for sharing your own content to keep in mind as well. First, present a mix of content and elements. LinkedIn offers many different options for sharing content, and we'll look at several of those today. It's important to consider using multiple different options. Not only does this give variety to what you're sharing, it also gives you unique opportunities to highlight particular goods or services in the way that best highlights them for other users. Variety keeps your content appealing. Think about having some short form posts, some longer articles, some images, and interactive elements that will let you engage with customers in different ways. Acknowledge engagement and encourage conversation with your content. Remember, LinkedIn is about building relationships. So it's important to leverage those relationships as part of your content creation strategy. Answer questions that others ask you. Respond to comments that you get on your posts. If you notice that people are particularly interested in certain types of content or they request more information, focus on those areas. You're demonstrating that you're aware of and responsive to your customers' needs. Also, share consistently. To establish a presence on LinkedIn, you need to share content consistently. While this will look different for each person, depending on your available time and your specific goals, in general, experts recommend posting bi-monthly if possible. For active businesses, consider posting bi-weekly if you can. This will establish you as a regular presence and leader in the industry. It also helps others build a relationship with you and your company as they have more opportunities to engage, to ask questions, and share your content. Start conversations and not sales pitches. Your goal on LinkedIn should be about forming relationships with you and your business, not specifically about selling people on a particular product or service. If you spend time developing your relationships, potential clients will naturally be curious about your products and services and can start those conversations as they feel comfortable. For your content, focus on answering a question and providing information. Think about what you can offer that will deliver a specific benefit to your followers and share that. And finally, practice the 4-to-1 rule. While some of your content will point other users towards your products or services, be mindful that you're not spending all of your time drawing attention to your business. Experts recommend that for each post that you share that highlights your own business, your services, or your accomplishments, you should post at least 4 pieces of relevant content written by others. These might be insights from your field or particular ideas that resonate with you. You're establishing that reciprocity in relationships while also showing others what's important to you. Successful content will be content that generates interest in your personal profile, your company page, or the unique products and services that you offer. So, how do you generate interest in your content? There are 5 different options that you can consider. 1, engage their curiosity. As humans, we naturally want to learn more about things that interest us. You can do this in your posts by answering questions like, how do I do something? How do I get something? These posts are about storytelling. You want users to be curious about that ending. Number two, illustrate a clear benefit. Rather than a sales pitch or a call to action, this type of post is about clearly demonstrating to your client what you can offer them that would help them. By being very specific about that benefit, you encourage them to learn more about who you are and what you do. So, to do this type of post, think about a specific problem or pain point that you can solve for a potential client. Number three, target a specific emotion. This type of post requires knowing your audience very well. Think about the words, phrases, or images that would trigger a specific emotion or reaction. You might focus on building trust, belonging, adding value, or similar ideas. Number four, focus on credibility. These are posts that focus on tangible and identifiable things. You may be using experts or examples that you're familiar with or that are familiar to your audience, and it's easy for them to verify that information that you're sharing. Presentations, documents, and reviews are all examples that you can use to establish you know what you're doing. Use these posts to show others what you can do. And finally, number five is to manage expectations. With all content that you post, you want to set reasonable expectations for your potential clients and then be sure that you provide what you're promising. Be honest with what you're posting, clearly outline any complications, restrictions, or other considerations that might influence a client's decision. Do we have any questions about content sharing tips before we move on? All right, now that we've talked about some general tips for creating and sharing content, let's look at some options for specific content sharing on LinkedIn. We're going to talk a little bit about your main options, and then we'll actually jump over to LinkedIn and look at how to build those posts. So first, you can use status updates for quick news bites. The quickest and easiest way to share information is through those status updates from your personal or company profile. LinkedIn offers a variety of pre-structured posts that let you share information, celebrate occasions, or even highlight an event registration. This type of content is a great way to share short updates or information, and you can use links to full articles, pages, or other resources to share more details. You can also write articles to establish thought leadership. Those articles are going to be longer pieces on LinkedIn that allow you to delve into topics and establish yourself as an industry leader. Unlike a simple post, they will give you more options for formatting your text and organizing ideas. If you consistently write articles, you may also consider publishing a regular newsletter of content. Much like status updates, you can add hashtags to your content to increase that visibility. You can also add native video to stand out from text. Native video is any video content created and uploaded directly onto LinkedIn rather than linking to another platform. This content tends to stand out automatically because it naturally attracts your eye and is used less often than other content. You can share company updates, behind the scenes information, questions and answers, or other fun content. And finally, use your LinkedIn content suggestions. If you've established a company page, you can use LinkedIn's content suggestions for ideas of what to post. You will see trending articles, employee milestones, and company news that might help you identify content to create and share. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my LinkedIn profile here so that I can show you what those will look like in action. Give me just a second to get that loaded. LinkedIn is being a little bit slow for me. All right, hopefully you should all be seeing my LinkedIn window now so that we can talk about how to actually build some of these posts. So like I mentioned earlier, if you're just getting started with content creation, a pre-structured post might be a good fit. This type of content will follow specific formatting and content guidelines. And it's easily created by following the content creation wizard. Options include a text-based post, sharing that you're hiring, celebrating occasions, and more. To get to that, right here at the top of your newsfeed, you should see a box that says Start a Post. If I click in there, if I'm just doing a text-based post, I can start typing right in that box to add my content. If I want to see the additional options available, these three dots down here in the bottom left corner will give me more options. I can click on that and see different things that I can do. I might create a poll, celebrate an occasion, find an expert, and that will open the content creation wizard. So let's say I want to celebrate an occasion. I would choose that. It opens up the wizard for me, and I will keep following the steps through to post my content. So maybe I'm doing a project launch. I don't have a photo I want to upload, but I'll just select one here. I'll do next. I can include recipients, and then it will give me that post to make any additional changes to. Once I've done everything that I want to on that post, all I need to do is click that blue post button to add it to my newsfeed. As you do write your posts, keep in mind that you want to avoid large blocks of text or content, and you want to keep that text visually appealing by adding lists or even tasteful emojis as bullet points. You also want to avoid linking too much content, which will ultimately redirect people away from your thoughts and ideas. Now let's say that I want to create an event post. That's going to be a little bit different. An event post will let you share details about online or offline offerings that might be of interest to your network or potential clients. Even if you aren't hosting your event on LinkedIn, and do keep in mind certain criteria will apply to use their platform, you can still share details about your event on LinkedIn. So I would go under Start a Post, and I'm looking for the option for an event. So if you have a larger window, you may see that calendar icon automatically. If not, click on those three dots and choose Create an Event. If you'd like, you can upload a cover image to represent your event and give it some additional visual component. If not, you can just scroll down underneath that and continue adding additional information. You're going to choose whether that event is online or in person, and your details are going to be different depending on which you choose. With your online events, you're going to enter your event format, which will either be a LinkedIn Live event or an external event link. You're going to put in your event name, your time zone, the start date and time, the end time and date if you would like to include that information. You'll keep going down, add in a description of your event, and you can also add speakers for your event if they are your LinkedIn connections. I can actually type in a name and say, I'm doing this with another person and add them onto that event as well. For your in-person events, I'm going to go back up to the top, switch that over to in-person. It's going to be very similar, but it'll be a little bit different in terms of the information provided. Still that event name, time zone, start and end times. But here you'll have the address, the venue. You can include an external event link if there is one. And then that description, any speakers you have, and that will finalize that information. Once you've put in all of the required fields, that next button is going to turn blue and let you move on with your post. Just like our other post window, you'll be able to preview what everything looks like before you click post to finalize. On LinkedIn, you can also share documents, photos, and videos. And those are all ways to share unique content with your network that go beyond those traditional text-based posts. You'll need to prepare in advance to create these posts and have your content readily accessible. So don't go and click Start a Post if you don't have the document download that you need to include, if you haven't created the video yet, or if you're not sure where that image file is. Do that prep work ahead of time. It'll make it a lot easier for you. Documents are best used to build your authority or expertise on a subject, like teaching a skill, highlighting projects or work samples, or sharing content that requires visual elements like charts or data to add value. Currently on LinkedIn, you can share PowerPoint, Word, and PDF files. Most users will recommend between 8 and 25 pages of content to share information without it becoming overwhelming. If I wanted to share a document, I would choose Start a Post. I would click on that Add a Document icon, and I can choose the file from my computer, upload it from the cloud. I'll add in a document title, click Done. It'll bring up that post preview window, and I'll click Post to finalize. The process for adding photos is going to be very similar if I'm doing a post with photos, which is a great way to share short and impactful statistics, educational infographics or other content, or highlights or announcements. You can always add additional text to a photos post, but the most impactful photos will be those that don't require additional context. They just speak for themselves. To do that, where I originally hit Add a Document, instead, I'm going to choose Add a Photo. I'm going to look for the photo that I want to add, and I'll go ahead and put one in just so you can see what that looks like. And then it will bring me to the editing options. For single photos, you will have the option to edit by choosing Edit. You can do a little bit of cropping, some filters, and adjusting. If you're uploading multiple photos, you will not have those options. I can use the tag feature to tag other users or organizations. I can use alt text to add a description of my photo for screen readers. And once I've done everything that I need to, once again, we get back to this post preview window. I can add any more words that I need to, any hashtags, and I can either schedule or post that content. Let me go ahead and discard that post. Videos are going to be very similar. They're a more interactive way to share information. You can share your perspective and information, combining that information with that visual component. Videos are useful to explain more complicated points in a clear, easily understood format. You want to adapt your video to your specific purpose, thinking about what you want to communicate and how. On LinkedIn, most videos will be between 30 seconds and 2 minutes long, so you'll want to try and hook your viewers quickly. To share a video, I'm going to click that video button. It's going to ask me what video that I'd like to share. I'll put in a video. This may take a little bit longer for you, depending on how long your video is, how big that file is that you're uploading. Once I've selected my video, I can choose to add a thumbnail image in if I'd like. I can also add a video caption file if I have one. Once I've done all of that work, once again, I'm going to hit done. It's going to bring me back to that option to add any additional information, hashtags, content that I need to before I click post to finalize. Publishing an article on LinkedIn will give you the most freedom and formatting options for a text-based piece. These are going to be longer pieces that are best for reflective content, giving you an opportunity to clearly articulate your thoughts, share insights or expertise, and build your brand. Within an article, you also have the opportunity to include images, media, and hyperlinks in addition to that text. Include a strong headline and commit to your length, which will generally be between 500 and 1,000 words. To write an article, your screen is going to look a little bit different. I would choose Write an Article from that top menu. If you have established a company page or associated pages, it's going to give you the option of how to publish, either as yourself or as your company. And then you will get into that publishing page. You're going to have the ability to put in your headline, you can add an image, and then underneath you'll be able to write all of your content. And you'll see here it's going to show me as the author with my profile picture that I already have on LinkedIn. within that article text, I've got the menu at the top that I can use to do some text formatting. I can do bold, I can do italics, I can add some bullet points in, I can do a block quote, I can add in a URL to help make that content look pretty. And then that publishing menu will give me the option to save drafts, schedule content, and even share with others if needed. I'm going to go ahead and open up a draft just so you can see what it looks like when you started to put some content in. So I've got my draft here. Click on the pencil to edit. I've got a headline in, I've got an image, and then underneath we start getting into the text. So we can see I've used some different formatting options to create subheadings. I've added the bulleted list in. We have links to content, etc. I can add images into my content as well. And all of that will come together as a single piece. When I'm done, I can choose to publish that. For company pages, LinkedIn will also provide content suggestions to give you an idea of content to share and engage. You can view trending articles, employee milestones, and company news. Now to do that, you'll need to open up your company page, which you should be able to see on the left-hand side of your LinkedIn profile if you have one. I'm going to go ahead and open up my class page here that I created. And you'll see it continues to give me some options for ways that I can interact with and improve my page. It's going to be a little bit cranky. So let me go ahead and get that cleared out. And clear that out of the way. Now, just like my personal profile, my company page will have that newsfeed with additional content that I can see and post. I can start a post. I can do articles, I can do polls, I can do videos, just the same as if I was posting as an individual. I also will have the activity feed on my company page that will let me see if I have requests, comments, mentions, posts, etc., that I need to respond to. That will make it easier for me to engage with content as well. And then my admin tools will give me some additional resources to be able to engage with that page as well. Now, LinkedIn has done a few updates since I was last in here, so the content suggestions are not showing for me today. You should normally see those across the top of your page as a content button. When you click on that, you'd be able to choose trending articles, employee milestones, and company news that will let you interact with your page. My page does not have any employees associated with it, which does limit what I can do on here, because I don't see those employee milestones or suggestions because they're not connected with me. If I saw something that I was particularly interested in, I could go ahead and create a post around that. LinkedIn will also give me some additional ideas and information. They might tell me, hey, you can amplify your content, learn more, and link me over to additional resources for that as well. And you can see here on my company page, we've posted just some sample content. We added a video in, we created an image and with an event, etc., just to show what that might look like on a company page for you. Do we have any questions about the different content sharing options before we move on to some examples today? All right, I'm going to go ahead and switch back over to our PowerPoint here for a minute so we can look at some sample posts. We've talked about some different avenues for sharing content. So these examples will hopefully give you an idea of what content posted by other businesses will look like. Keep in mind, these are examples of the types of content that you might post, but it's important to remember that not every type of post will work for every type of business or audience. Your specific strategies will depend on your business, your goals, and your audience needs. So this first post here is an example of audience engagement. It focuses on that niche content relevant to the target market, which helps generate interest. The competition draws on the user's natural curiosity and emotion, and the visuals reinforce the concepts to encourage the user to learn more. I can see that side by side. Ooh, this looks interesting. I might want to learn more about it. This is an example of what brand awareness might look like. So here the content focuses on highlighting the success of those participating in this institute, and it appeals to the user's desire to have the same success. The company is hoping that I will look at Eric here on the screen and go, I want to be like Eric. How do I do that? Using that at feature to mention a specific user also builds the credibility within the post. It also ensures that content is visible in more news feeds because it's going to pop up for anyone who's following the Management Institute, as well as those who are following the individual referenced here as well. This post is an example of a customer spotlight. So it uses a demonstrable experience of a user to highlight how a specific product or service can solve a problem for that client. The content is relatable to many users. It's easy for those interested to learn more, and the use of a specific example lets others see the customer's feedback regarding the service as well, which builds that credibility. So I'm looking right at it. I can see, oh, hey, this is someone who's interested in rings. Maybe I too am interested in insuring a piece of jewelry of value, or I know somebody who's going to propose to their significant other. Great, I can see easily that this company has something that might help me. This post is an example of event promotion. Although it doesn't use the event registration feature on LinkedIn, it does clearly showcase the date and time of the event and include the relevant registration information. The graphic provides all the needed information in one spot, while that supplemental text provides useful details. This post clearly demonstrates the company's expertise and their participation in events important to their field. This post is an example of sharing funding news. So it promotes the latest developments related to that organization and clearly outlines the next steps. It serves to both celebrate the work that the organization is doing while also generating interest in that future work. This type of post will work particularly well for nonprofits that rely on external funding sources. So people can see, hey, you're getting the money, people are engaging with you, this is what you're planning to do with it. It's very easy for me to see the vision and goals of your company. This post is an example of industry recognition, and it includes a little video that draws attention to the industry accomplishment. The focus is on that professional recognition from an identified reputable source, which makes it easy for users to understand the importance of that accomplishment. Additionally, the focus is on celebrating as a team rather than a particular individual, which underscores the contributions of everyone on that team. So rather than saying, hi, I'm really good at this, this post says, hey, our team did this really amazing thing. This post is an example of lead generation. It uses curiosity to draw user interest into the content. The video clearly illustrates what problem the product can solve for the user, and it includes a call to action that uses the comments to encourage visibility of the post, because the more people are commenting, the more that post is going to appear in additional news feeds. It also lets the company collect user information and potential leads, because when you're commenting, now I have your name, I can link back to your profile, I have a way to get in touch with you. This post is an example of partnership promotion. It clearly illustrates how two companies are working together towards a common interest. The use of that at feature guarantees that users from both companies will see the update, while the visual reinforces the types of products users can expect from that partnership. There's also a clear benefit to users from both companies, as well as an idea of what next steps might look like. This post is an example of product innovation. It uses a brief video to clearly demonstrate a new feature that is available to users. Users can see how to use the thing themselves, as well as the potential benefit to them. The video also contains all the information that the user needs without relying on a ton of text. Additionally, that short video ensures it's eye-catching and easily viewed in the newsfeed because as I'm scrolling, that video is most likely going to autoplay. I'm going to see the movement and I'm more likely to stop and ask what is in that post. This post is an example of talent branding. It includes a video that concisely shares information and is a good example of when a video might be more effective at sharing information than a lot of text. It provides relevant information and clearly answers a question for users. In addition, it gives the company an opportunity to highlight their specific culture and values. So rather than telling you why it's so great to work at the company, they've given you a little video that you can watch and see more about their company and engage with them. And finally, this post here is an example of thought leadership. So it focuses on content that is relevant to the company's audience. And additionally, it leverages the expertise of someone well known and established in the field, which helps build their credibility. Thought leadership can be about content that you create and share, but it can also be about identifying and sharing relevant content from others in your industry. Do we have any questions about the types of content that were shared today? Okay, for the last part of today's class, we're going to look at some avenues for sharing content and your content creation strategy. As you start to develop that content creation strategy, it's important to think about what avenue you're going to use to share your content. Depending on whether you want to focus on personal publishing, sharing content in groups, or publishing from your company page, you'll want to allow enough time to create that content and then follow up with engagement. Depending on which platform you're using, your content focus and objectives will likely be different. So personal publishing is going to be that content released from your personal LinkedIn profile. Experts recommend allowing at least 1 hour per week for a minimum of 3 hours each month. You might share content related to your professional expertise and experiences, industry trends, or even lessons that you've learned. Your objective is that thought leadership. You want to reach and build an engaged audience to build your personal brand. The more you publish, the more credibility you build, and the more visible you and your content become. Those metrics available for measuring your success are going to include things like your post views, your profile views, and engagements from the reactions and comments. You can use the demographic information from your post views to help you refine that content, or link your content back to your website or blog to drive more traffic to your business. Alternatively, you can look at groups publishing, and that's going to be content that you share within one or more groups that you are a member of. What you share will depend on the specific focus and interests of each group and their unique standards for content sharing. Experts recommend allowing at least 20 minutes each day or about 2 hours each week for a minimum of 4 hours per month. This will give you time to see what's current in the group, post timely content and responses. You might join conversations about industry trends or challenges, or ask questions to crowdsource sentiment or solutions. Your objective with this type of content is going to be, again, to build your thought leadership because you're positioning yourself as a helpful and trusted peer within the group and building personal connections that you can leverage later. Available metrics for measuring your success will include the size of the group, the number of interactions, the quality of conversations, and the number of profile views and new connections that you see as a result. Finally, you have your company pages, which is going to be that content that you share from your business page rather than your personal page. That's going to represent your organization rather than you as an individual. These updates will vary based on your unique goals in using LinkedIn, and experts recommend allowing at least 1 hour each day or 4 hours per week for a minimum of 10 hours per month. You might share links to content, case studies, industry articles, how-to content, or bright visuals. Updates that include a link are actually 45% higher in engagement with most followers. There are several different objectives that you might have for your company page's content. If your focus is brand awareness, your objective is going to be building relationships with potential clients by getting the word out about who you are and actively engaging with your current users. Your metrics for that would include page follows, post clicks, and comments. Alternatively, your focus might be lead generation, where your objective is to engage with as many potential clients as possible. Research shows that most clients will interact with at least 10 pieces of content before they're making a purchase decision. Available metrics for this type of post are going to include how many inquiries and leads you receive. If your focus is on thought leadership as an organization, your objective is going to be sharing perspectives on industry news and trends and helpful content that reflects your company's vision. Research shows that 74% of potential clients will choose a company that was first to support or help them in their buyer's journey. Available metrics for thought leadership will include things like the number of page follows you have, the number of post clicks you receive, your number of comments, and the type of reactions that you're getting. Finally, if your focus is just on event registrations, you're focusing on promoting your upcoming events that your company is attending, sponsoring, or hosting, and you'll be looking at those event registrations as your metric. Once you've identified the avenues that you want to use in sharing content and you have an idea of the type of content you want to share, it may be helpful to create a content creation strategy and calendar. Your strategy refers to your process for developing and evaluating content, while your calendar will help you outline when and how to post that content. Let's start with some basics of creating a content creation strategy. Number one, plan before you write your content. Before you start writing, outline the purpose, brainstorm your approach, and think about your potential titles. Next, you're going to conduct any necessary research. This might involve having conversations with others on your team, talking to your customers, reviewing existing post content, or even looking at industry trends. Once you've done that, you're going to outline and draft your content. This is going to look different for each person depending on their unique process. You might be someone who creates an outline first. You might be someone who just starts drafting your text. Either way, it's okay. Most likely, you'll want to give yourself time to have more than one draft to refine your content. Once you've got that content written, then you can add in graphics or supplemental content. Think about the graphics, links, and other content that you need to add to that text. You'll want to be intentional about choosing things that support your text and draw attention to your post without being overwhelming. You may need to revise what you've written based on the graphics or other content that you choose. Then you're ready to edit and publish. Before posting, make sure you take that final look at your post and maybe share your approach with others, whether that's another member of your team or a trusted mentor. Once you've published that content, double check, make sure it looks good when viewed from different browsers or platforms, including your mobile users, and make those adjustments if you need to. And finally, promote your content. Once that content is live, be sure to follow up. This stage includes responding to comments, looking at the post metrics, and building on your success. If you see that certain types of content do better, focus on writing more of those. You can also promote content from your business on your personal page to increase your reach as well. No matter which avenue of content creation you choose, do be intentional about allowing time for that content creation. For a quick way to lay out your strategy, you might consider the 3-2-1 model. This model shares 3 pieces of industry information, 2 pieces of proud or celebratory content, and 1 piece of product-related content for each content creation cycle. Content creation calendars can be helpful in organizing your process. Having a calendar lets you focus on the content that best resonates with your followers and lets you be more intentional about when and how you are engaging and connecting with your audience. You can also use this as a tool to plan for the future and be proactive in thinking about what content should appear rather than just responding to trends. Finally, having a calendar lets you streamline your time and resources and gives you a visual of your commitments so that you can prioritize the needed time to create quality content. And this slide here just shows you an example of what that might look like. What you include on your calendar will depend on what information you find helpful to organize your thoughts. In general, it's going to include things like who's creating the content, especially if you have more than one person dedicated to content creation, the title that you're going to use, the theme of that content. You can have daily, weekly, monthly themes, or even content that focuses on celebrating specific holidays or other fun events. You might want to include your target audience. You might include your call to action or the chief purpose behind writing this particular content. You might want to make note of any keywords or hashtags to include, and then also include your schedule for posting. You do have many different options for creating a calendar, and this slide is just one example. This option uses a simplified calendar view with the type of content categorized. Additional pages provide more details about the posts. If you are using a content creation calendar, you'll start by choosing the style you want to use. You can find templates in Word, Excel, Google Docs, Google Sheets, or other programs. Then you'll map out any special days or holidays you want to include, decide on what categories of content you will share, including any of those themes, assign the different posts to different days, and then create your content and post according to that prepared schedule. Do we have any questions about content creation strategy before we wrap up today? All right. Well, thank you, everyone. That does conclude today's class on content creation. But before we go, I would like to share a few more library resources with you. As a reminder, we do have one more class in this series, Strategy and Resources, next week on April 5th. The link that you used to register for today's class will give you access to that class as well. If you're unable to attend the session, a recording will be available on our YouTube channel a few days after that original program air date. If you have a short question that you'd like library staff to answer, you may submit it online at any time using our Ask a Librarian service. A librarian will respond within 48 hours with the information that you need. If you want more one-on-one help from one of our librarians, about 30 minutes with the chance to go over your specific questions, you can complete a Book a Librarian request. Each session is tailored to your specific needs and is compatible with your schedule. For many of the topics we covered today, you can find additional tools and resources from the LinkedIn help pages. You can also access tutorials on LinkedIn Learning for more information, tips, and tricks. You do have access to LinkedIn Learning free with your Plano library card. Once again, a recording of today's class will be available in a few days on our YouTube channel, and you can access our course handouts online at any time as well. If you have any specific questions outside of today's program, my contact information is also available here on the screen. You can feel free to reach out to me directly as well. Plano Library Speaks is the podcast of the Plano Public Library, and in each episode, you'll learn about resources and programs for the entire family, business and career resources, as well as little-known facts about the library with the chance to get to know our staff. You can listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Do we have any final questions before we end today? Once again, thank you for joining us this afternoon and enjoy the rest of your day.